"We need soldiers," Tamas said. Ola mashed his cigarette on the ruins of the cathedral altar. "I can try and find Sergeant Aldrich. He's got 15 of my riflejacks with him." "That would be a start," Tamas said. "I think we should make contact with Rickard," Flora said. "Find out what happened to the city. He'll have men that we can use." Tamas acknowledged the advice with a nod. "In good time. Pit, I should have brought the whole powder cabal with me. I want more men before we go to Rickard. I don't know if he's turned on us." Tamas had left Daniel's unconscious body in Rickard's care. If someone had harmed his boy, Tamas would... He swallowed bile and tried to gain control of his pounding heart. "Sabon's trainees?" Olam asked. Before Sabon's death, he'd been tasked with setting up a school for powder mages just north of the city. Early reports were that he had over 20 men and women with some talent, and that he was already teaching them how to shoot and fight and control their powers. They'd had only a few months of training. It would have to be good enough. "The trainees," Tamas agreed. "At the very least we can get Telavir before we go to Rickard." They headed across the Ad River in the cool dawn as the streets began to fill with people. Tamas noted that Brudanian patrols, while they were frequent and the street guards plentiful, seemed to leave the citizens unmolested. No one questioned him or his companions as they passed through the old city's western gates, or as they left the city once again to reach the suburban Northland. Tamas saw Brudanian ships in the harbour along the river and their tall masts out in the bay to the south. The mountain-crossing canal that Rickard's Union had been building must have been a success, he noted wryly. It was the only way ocean-going vessels of that size could reach the Adsea. Tamas lost track of the number of destroyed churches and monasteries. It seemed as if every other city block had a pile of rubble where a church had once been. He couldn't help but wonder what had happened to the priests and priestesses that staffed them, and why they, in particular, had been targeted by the Brudanian privileged. It was something he'd have to ask Rickard. Their journey took them an hour north of the city by foot, where the school stood on the bank of the Ad River. It was an old brick building, a decommissioned clothing factory with a field off to one side that had been turned into a firing range. As they came off the road, Flora grasped Tamas's arm. He sensed panic in her touch. Tamas felt his chest tighten. The windows of the dormitory above the school were shuttered, and the main door hung off its hinges. A wooden placard, emblazoned with a silver powder keg of a powder mage, had been knocked from its place above the door and lay broken in the mud. The grounds around the school and the firing range beside it were quiet and abandoned, the grass overgrown. "Flora," Tamas said, "take the south side of the river. Olam, swing around to the north." The two of them moved off with a "yes, sir," and no further questions. Flora removed her hat and crept through the tall grass, while Olam continued up the street past the school, sauntering casually, before cutting across the firing range to approach the school from uphill. Tamas waited for them to be both in position before he continued cautiously down the path to the school. He opened his third eye to look into the else, searching for signs of sorcery, but it revealed nothing about the contents of the building. If anyone lay waiting inside, they weren't privileged or knacked. Nor could he sense any powder mages, for that matter. Why was the school empty? Telavir had been left in charge. She was a powder mage of little raw power but excellent technical skill, a perfect choice to teach the recruits. Could she have taken them into hiding when the Brudanians arrived? Had they been attacked? Tamas drew his pistols as they neared the school, pausing only to sprinkle black powder on his tongue. A powder trance gripped his body, his eyesight, hearing, and smell sharpening, and the pain of the ride ebbing away behind a curtain of strength. A low sound filled his ears, almost drowned out by the sound of the gentle flow of the Ad River. He couldn't quite